How's it going? Strife here, and I got some feedback on whether I was going to do a video guide for this dungeon. Since it is only a 2-week dungeon, at first I wasn't going to, but some people wanted it, and I've seen some pretty slow times out there, so I decided to make a video. This is our 5th run. We kind of figured out the strategy to make this as fast as possible. Obviously, it can be a bit faster than this video just because it's not perfect, but not going to spend too much time on a 2-week dungeon. So the first section is you're just going to have this portal. You're going to have to clear a group of 4 mobs and then 1 more champion mob. Nothing too hard. Again, just LOS and pull them together. Or not even champion, just a silver mob. From here, we're just going to go up to the drill that's going to be up here. So this next drilling sequence, you can't speed it up at all. The drill just goes the same speed every run, which is about 4 minutes. So you're pretty much subjected to just waiting around. I kind of don't like that mechanic overall. I do understand they wanted to kind of even out speed running and just pugging in general, but it's pretty boring for people to just stand here and not do anything for 4 minutes. Because as you'll see, there's these rooms as we go through the tunnel. The first time you go through it, every 24 hours, it's going to have mithril ore in it, and then there'll be 2 orichalcum later as well. But so you can mine that. These ore, they have a special gem drop, so normally you get like rubies and sapphires, emeralds, etc. In this dungeon you're going to get the azurite, which is used for that new sentinel gear, which overall the sentinel gear is pretty bad. It's basically a less inefficient soldier gear, PVT, except it has vitality as the main stat, which I think is pretty much a waste. But so you'll see here, we're just LOSing, burning down the mobs. There's going to be different mob types in each cavern, but the same general strategy applies. So at this point, I'm going to speed up the video. You can see the timer in the bottom left, it speeds up with the video. I just put that down there to show the true time of this run, because I'm going to speed it up a couple more times for parts where you can't really do anything and you're just standing around as well. So we'll just keep going through the rooms, bursting down the mobs. If you are doing your first run, you can mine, so make sure you have a orichalcum pick or mithril and an orichalcum pick if you don't like wasting your orichalcum on mithril nodes. So again, this is the last room. We'll just burn it down, and then up here finally the drill will end. You'll see it ends around the 5-minute mark where it started around the 1-minute mark. So in this room there can be 3 different types of groups and then a champion. So this one we got the oozes. You can get trolls or elementals as well. Those are the 3 that I've seen at least. So again, just try and pull them. The focus pull there didn't grab this 3rd one, so we'll just burn it down. And then I'll save my time warp for the champion. Overall, the types of mobs, whether it's the elemental, the troll, or the ooze, it's pretty much all the same. They're pretty easy overall. So we generally just burst it down, not too hard. So once that's done, you're going to run up here. This is the part where we kind of have to wait a lot again, so I'm going to speed it up. On my right hand side, that's where you would go to jump up and get the orichalcum node. So you can do that. So at this point we're going to speed up. You're just going to wait for these mist walls to run through them. If you touch them you take some damage. Obviously not too hard. And then here you're going to have to wait for the NPCs to get all the way down to the room at the bottom before the next event activates. So we leave our 2 warriors back just to swiftness the NPCs. It speeds them up a little bit, just to shave off a few seconds. So this room's pretty fun. Basically what's going to happen is there's going to be different types of traps that you need to avoid. And then every 60 seconds or so, this middle metal structure is going to become attackable. You have to do 25% damage, and then it'll become invulnerable again, and you'll go through another phase of traps. The traps are random, but generally you'll get all 3 types, so sometimes this first event will be different, but for our event you can see this is the basically crushing weights that put out shockwaves. This is a new mechanic where you can jump over the shockwave. You can also evade through it if you need to, like that. Now for whatever reason, I guess the devs didn't test it, but the rest of my group over there is in the top left corner. You can actually just stand there for every single trap and not get hit by anything. So if you're farming this a lot and you're tired and you're bored, you can actually just stand over there. Obviously it's not too hard to avoid these traps, so I'm showing you the correct way. Well, I had my party go over there to show you the easy way. Usually I don't show too many exploits, but since this is only a 2-week dungeon, I figured it's not a big deal. So that's the first event. You'll see we're going to attack this thermal core now. What our warriors do is they'll slot Frenzy and use Frenzy, and then since Frenzy is a 60-second timer, it's a good timer to see when you need to get back to the core for the next event as well. So for the next trap, this one's pretty easy overall. I mean, they're all pretty easy, but this one, as you can see, there's going to be red circles on the ground. Maybe 3 or 4 seconds after the red circles appear, flaming projectiles come down at you. And then the red circles will be on fire for a few seconds after the projectiles come down, so if you're standing in it, obviously you're going to take damage and burning as well. But it's pretty easy just to run around and dodge the circles. You get different patterns, so this one's going on the edges, but the middle's safe. And then you'll see for this next one I can stand in this little diamond area, which is safe as well. Or again, you can go in that top left corner and not take any damage. So for the second and the third, I guess core, there's going to be a protector. You saw I focus pulled him, but he is just right on the edge. So the protectors in this dungeon, I'll talk about it later when we fight a bunch of them, but they put down this field, which basically nullifies your damage until it wears off. Usually you get around it by either pulling the mobs out of the circle or stunning the protector before you can use it. So that part did slow us down a bit. Usually that doesn't happen, but as you saw, I was right on the edge and we couldn't kill the core fast enough. Now for this third trap, again, this is pretty easy. It's going to have these flame turret type things, or tornadoes I guess. They're going to come out of different sides of the room. You can use this metal structure in the middle to block them, or you can just evade through them. So there is a sound accompanying this. You can't hear it in this video obviously, but it's a siren type sound. So generally if you're looking straight ahead, you can see 3 sides. If you hear that sound and you don't see the tornadoes, then it's going to be behind you, so you can just evade or try and run around. And again, if you go in that top left corner, you're not going to be hit by anything. So again, that time I pulled it out and we bursted the core down before that protector got his field up. Now for this fourth 25%, the last 25%, you're actually not going to go through another trap sequence. What's going to happen is all the traps are going to activate at the same time, and that core is going to become instantly attackable. So you saw there we saved our time warp and we just bursted it down before anything could hurt us. So this trap room's done. We're going to get a chest which is going to be filled with useless stuff. And then we'll get to a part that you can actually speed up based on your group now. You're not going to be subjected by artificial time limits. So this part's good because depending on how fast your group is, this is where you're going to shave off most of the time of your run. So in the next room, there's going to be a lot of corners. You're going to use 2 LOS mobs and then just burst them down. For the most part, these are normal dredge mobs. There are 2 new types of mobs in this section. The first one you want to focus down is the gunner, which you'll see coming up ahead. This one's going to shoot projectiles and that flame tornado type attack that we saw in the trap room as well. So you can reflect some of their damage. And then the other one is the brawler right here. You saw he jumped up and did the shockwave, which you do want to jump over or evade. We didn't do it there, but obviously you don't want to take the full brunt of that attack usually. And then throughout this room there is also these coolant boxes. So you'll see on my boon bar down there I have the little ice type icon with the head and the icicles coming down. The same one that you get in the frost fractal. So whenever the coolant box is up, before you destroy it, you have that debuff on you which is going to tick for damage. Once you destroy the box, then it comes off and you can regen your health in between fights. So each little subset of this room has those. And then again, we're just going to LOS here, group up the mobs and burst them down. You'll see for my Mesmer I'm using mirror images. It's pretty good for this dungeon to just pop it and then burst down mobs with your shatters. So you generally don't really need blink or any other stun breakers, so mirror images is the stun breaker I use and also useful for shattering. And then when we break down this door, so you saw 4 of us went to break down the door, 1 warrior went to take care of that coolant box, and then we're just going to finish these mobs around the corner as well. So in this next area, there are 3 like torn or crumpled pages, which you can turn in for a karma jug, which gives I think 4,500 karma. So the first one's going to be in this room to the right in that little hanging pavilion type thing. You can just jump over there and grab it. I already got on mine, so I'm not going to show you, but that's where the first one is. So again, we're going to have to wait for this talking sequence. These doors are going to open, and you'll see I will focus pull this group of mobs in here to this pillar, just to group them all up. And then again, just burst them down. Not too hard. In this next area, there's going to be a lot of those protectors, so you see I'm targeting one right now. What our general strategy that we figured out works the best is I'm equipping pistol in my offhand, so I'm not using greatsword for this dungeon because you don't really need to range anything. So what I'll do, I'll run in and start with my interrupt, then you see the warriors follow with their mace 5, and then I'll use my F3 ability, which dazes the target. So we'll constantly use that. You can kill the protectors before they even put their fire field up that nullifies damage. And then in this next room, we're going to use this minecart to LOS and then pull the group of mobs together as well to burn them down. And then of course reflects and shatters and all that stuff. But for those protectors, so yeah, a lot of the times you can just nullify their field by constantly stunning them and burning them down first. There are a few times where obviously they may put up their field just because you don't get your stun off or you can't kill it in time or you're just not in this type of group. So in those instances, obviously you want something like the focus pull, the great sword pull. You could use the knockback on Mesmer greatsword, knockbacks or pulls on various other classes just to get the mobs out of that field so you can damage them. Or obviously you can just wait for it to wear off, which is gonna waste time. So this part I'll use my time warp because it's going to be back up before the last boss. We found that this room was a pretty good area to use our time warp. There's quite a few mobs, and rather than let it go to waste, might as well speed this part up a bit. So there's a Petroleum Protector down this path. Sometimes it'll catch you by surprise, so it'll get its field off before you can stun it. I'm going to see if we can grab it. If it does get its field off, then just pull it out. So at this point, we're getting near the second crumbled page. We're going to finish off this group. Again, try and focus the gunners first when there are gunners. And then you want to focus the brawler next. And then the shaman's not a big deal, just throws fireballs, not too much damage. Just finish those off last. But after this group, we'll be in the area with the next crumpled page. You'll see this protector got its fire field off, so again, we'll just pull it out, not too big a deal. And you can see we're just getting a bunch of NPCs following us as we rescue the prisoners. So down here is where we're going to LOS. If you keep running back behind where I'm standing to the back of this little structure, the ramp or stairwell, that's where the second crumble page is. So again, we're going to focus down the gunner and brawler right here. We're hitting them at the same time. and then you can finish off the shaman again. So as long as you're grouping up mobs and you're DPSing them down fairly quickly, they're not too dangerous. So that's a general strategy we have. And then you'll see there's another protector here, so again, same thing, start off with the pistol, follow with the mace 5, and then I'll use my F3. So those gunners, they're harder to group up. You'll see a lot of the times one of their other moves besides their projectiles is they leap. I guess that one didn't do it, but they'll jump. So even if you do focus pull them, sometimes they'll jump away from you. Generally there's a cooldown though, so sometimes you'll try and bait out their jump, and then you can pull them in and they'll stay there with enough time for you to kill it. Directly on my right is the third Crumpled page as well. I looked at it briefly when I was running up the ramp right here. So there's one last group of mobs up here. There's a protector in this group as well. This one you want the warrior to lead with mace 5. You'll see I won't have time to shoot it in time because of the angle. So mace 5, you can use it without having to have like the line of sight. It just follows the ground. So if you did want to interrupt that one, you'd use mace 5 probably better than the pistol. Obviously not a big deal though, because you can pull it out of the field. Just finish these mobs off. So you see we're at about 20 minutes now. And the first 11 minutes, I believe, were just due to timed events. So up here is the final set of bosses. For these bosses, you want warriors to use For Great Justice, their banner, and Frenzy. Mesmer, you can see I'm using Feedback, which I believe reflects some of the projectiles from the Firestorm, and then Signet and Mirror Images for more reflects, or shatters, sorry. And then our Guardian's just running typical shouts. So once we get down to this platform, there's going to be a pretty cool cutscene which introduces the two bosses. Unfortunately, there is not a skip button, so while it is cool the first few times, it can get a bit old after a while. But as far as these bosses do go, so the order in which you kill them in the first phase is going to change the second phase. Pretty much what happens is you'll kill one of the two in the first phase, and no matter how low you have the second one, it's going to regen to full health, so just try and focus on one in the first phase. And then in the second phase, whichever boss is left is going to get like a super set of moves. So the first couple times we actually killed the Firestorm, which is the turtle looking dude first. But since then we found that it's pretty easy just to burn down the Berserker, and then the Firestorm's not too bad in phase 2. So the Berserker does the slam move. If you are in melee range though, you're not going to get hit by it. In phase 2 it does a super slam move, which is a red ring, and it will insta down you if you don't evade through it or you're not melee stacking. And you saw there are going to be a bunch of fire fields from the Firestorm, so I was standing in some of them and got downed. It's not a huge deal though, because after this cutscene I will be automatically rezzed back up. So generally we just try and burn it down as fast as possible, the Berserker. So in phase 2, the Firestorm's moves, you're just going to stack on the red circle. After it does its animation, it's going to close off a big portion of this arena, so you're going to have less room to dodge out of these fire circles. Then besides that, pretty much all it does is these fire circle attacks. How hard or easy this is just depends on where he places those fields. So I think on the second fight I ever did, or the third fight of this dungeon, we actually got a really good time. It was like a minute 20, because in phase 2, all of the fire fields that the boss put out were all like spread apart from his body, so we could just melee him down without having to move. You see in this run there are quite a few fields that are right next to his body, but we do kill him fast enough that it's not a big deal even if people did get down there. Pretty much the 5 times that I've done this dungeon, we've been able to just melee stack and burn the bosses down without much trouble, even if a couple people do get downed. So that is how you do this dungeon. All that's left is a mini event for setting the dynamite and then doing like a escape type event where you just run out and have a timer. Even if you do reach 0 on the timer though, you'll automatically be ported into the escape elevator at down status, so it's pretty much impossible to fail this part. You'll see we're just planning the 3 stacks of dynamite. And then we're just going to run through to the end of this dungeon. But this dungeon overall, so the chest after those 2 bosses we just fought, it can have the jetpack, the berserker, tonic recipe, or I think the mini pet. Those are the valuable items from this dungeon, but the drop rate's pretty horrid. It's probably close to 1% maybe. Out of all the times that our guilds run this, we've run it quite a few times now with various groups. I only know of 1 berserker recipe and 1 jetpack drop from our guild. So I personally probably not going to run this dungeon or farm it too much anymore, just because I don't like that heavy RNG type drops for cosmetic gear, since I don't care about cosmetics that much anyway. Now obviously if it was gear that made your character stronger, then you would want to farm it, or specifically I would. But I'm not a big fan of cosmetics, so it's not a huge deal for me. And we'll just speed up this end. It's about 1.5 minutes of talking, and that is it for the Molten facility. So thanks for watching.